Because the Bible said, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice.
People rejoice.
But when you look at Romans 13 in its context, Romans 13 says the righteous should not fear government. The evil should. But right now, because we voted in all the rotten trees, now the righteous gotta fear government and the evil don't. Good afternoon, and welcome to People Over the Parties. And I'm your host, Dr. David D. King. And y'all probably say, what is wrong with that man today? I'm going to tell y'all what's wrong with me today. I'm just excited. I am hyped. I am ready to have some fun with each and every one of y'all today. And I think that uh, our show today is going to make some people happy, make some people mad. Hopefully, we don't make somebody sad today. I don't know. These ladies in the back, they are ready to do some damage. And so my wife is in the studio and she say, "Let's get ready to rumble." So our first co-host that is coming out for the fight, ladies and gentlemen. She is the women's heavyweight championship of fighting for freedom. She is known for being a sniper and an assassin. She is known for protecting her son no matter what state she's in, ladies and gentlemen. Some of y'all might think she's crazy, but others might think she's Einstein. Ladies and gentlemen, let us bring her on. The Black Law Dictionary woman, Amber.
That was quite the unique intro today. Thank you.
Well, see, I had to bring you first because see, you that ninja, and you love attacking, and then you get emotional. So then when you get emotional, you might be, how should I say this, fatal attraction to anybody that goes against the Constitution.
David,
So
you can't call women emotional. Don't you know this? Doesn't Rosie make sure you know this? Come on.
women emotional. Oh my God, do y'all get emotional? That's an
But you
understatement.
can't say it. Because then that makes it makes us more emotional. So you
I
can't.
know, right? Y'all get all see. Y'all don't just get in y'all feelings. Y'all is the feeling. So
Uh-huh.
yes. So let's bring in the next one, the next co-host, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta be honest. When I met this woman, I was terrified. I'm talking about she came with the squad and she asked me a question. And the question was, what are we? And for those of you on the left and those of you that's on the right, that says we are a democracy, I guarantee you with one blow, she take all of y'all out. We are a constitution republic. And I tell you, she is a mama bear. She acts sweet. She'll feed you. She'll bake for you. But when you mess with her constitutional right, when you misrepresent all three constitutionals, the Bible, the United States, and the Wisconsin constitutional, she turned into the Incredible Hulk. She just break out of everything. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring her up. The Incredible Hulk, aka Constitutional Queen, Sarah.
Oh yeah, green is my color. I mean, I do have Irish blood in me, so.
Me too. See, she will use like a verbal whip on you.
I do try.
Hey, you said a verbal whip?
A verbal whip. Yep.
I don't
That's
know.
Sarah.
She's more of a what is that? A AR-15 in the mouth?
AR-15. Oh my gosh.
She hit you with more than one.
Oh, that's true. Or she's like Jacques the Whipper, like where she's got like two.
There you go. Yeah. I like that.
I love him, by the way.
Hey, so to get this started, you guys, I read something last night after I got through studying. See, once you started studying the Word of God and you start doing something, then God just brings something up to you that just mess you up, because everybody always saying that it's hard to win as an independent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say a name to you guys and tell me if you know this name. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
Roger Bannister.
No.
The name sounds familiar. But he was an independent.
No, he's not politics.
He's not politics?
No.
Am I thinking of a different person then? Probably thinking of a different person.
Probably somebody with the same name. But
what's his name again?
Roger Bannister.
Bannister.
Okay.
Okay, so let me tell you who he is. Because this, and my wife is on, is he from Milwaukee? No, he's not. So Roger Bannister, on May 6, 1954, when everybody said it was impossible.
I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
It's Sir Roger Bannister.
Sir Roger Bannister.
Gilbert.
Okay.
I looked him up. Just
yeah.
Oh, so now y'all done looked him up. Y'all some cheaters. But they said it was impossible for a human being to run a mile under 4 minutes.
Yep.
And he did it.
Yep. I looked him up for a refresh because I've heard of this guy before.
Yeah.
Chariots of Fire was one of my favorite things growing up. So running, like that sort of thing. Yeah. I may not be athletic myself, but I love watching people run.
I was just going to say, if I'm running, you better be running with me.
So now on, if somebody said it's impossible to win as an independent, I'm going to say, go look up Roger Bannister.
Sir Roger Bannister.
Ooh, yeah.
Sir Roger.
I like
Sir
that.
Roger. And the reason that is because somebody got to do it first.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So others can want to do it too.
Yeah, and it isn't. So here's the thing. Yes, it is difficult, especially given the cultural climate we've gotten into with factions and parties and that sort of thing. But I mean, you think about it, the original founding fathers and their runs for office, they were in a sense independents because they'd never done politics the way that we were doing them at that time. So yes, it might have been a little bit easier back then because there weren't as many of them, but
Well, and you know what's really funny? I love that you use the word factions, Sarah, because this whole division over party thing reminds me of the movie Divergent, that series.
yes.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're trying to do to us, is keep us in these factions. And the ones that are divergent, aka independent, they're trying to squash and kill out and make sure, because they know that there's a lot of wisdom there and a lot of power and strength.
Yeah. And we've been taught for so long that independent thinking, and there's that word again, independent thinking, right, is we got to stop doing that. We've got to find our clan, our tribe, or whatever educational system telling us, shut up, sit down, listen to the school bell and follow it, right? Listen to your authorities. Churches saying, follow what the pastor says on Sunday, and that's what the Bible says.
Well,
we've been ingrained and indoctrinated with this idea that if you have a letter after your name, if you have, PhD, or if you have, a seminary degree or whatever, that makes you the expert. And so therefore we cannot think for ourselves.
Even to take it a step farther, even hippies, like we have bashed hippies for so long, and yet they were right about natural health. They were right about a heck of a lot of conspiracy theories, about not being subject to the government, being independent, private.
Wait. I gotta say something on that. I never bash hippies. I love their lifestyle.
No. As a society, though, we have. I never said we did, but as a society, we have made that whole vibe look taboo and bad and just,
we call it the other, right? It's us versus them, that mindset, right? Yeah. And you think about how if we are truly walking in our integrity, and we're stating very clearly that we are looking to join hands with people who have the same foundational values and principles as us, we're going to find them no matter what letter they have after their name. Right? Because we're not looking at those shallow differences. We're looking at what is going on the inside, in the foundation. And if we find people with strong foundations, we're going to walk with them if we are standing in our integrity.
So here's the thing, though, because they are threatened by independents or independent thinkers, they got to make you become the bad person because they don't want you to free somebody else.
The irony of that, we are celebrating 250 years of independence, guys, this year. The irony of that statement.
Bingo.
So when we look at it, right, we're talking about, since you brought that up, we're talking about being independent, 250 years of American freedom, being independent, not allowing King George to think for us, right? Now we got two parties that's trying to hold us into a box to say, you ain't got to think, we'll think for you. And here's what we want you to do. We have people in office that ain't did a good job, but we want you to promote them just because they got a D or R behind their name, and they're going to make your life better. And we're sitting there saying, let me... Bill done jumped in and said, okay, since 1871. All right, Bill, here we go. It's good to have you on, though. But the point I'm making is this. When did we stop becoming independent thinkers? That's what the part that I want to, because they got all of these so-called leaders. Who leader? I don't have a leader, but Jesus Christ.
Well, and here's the other real twist, if you think about it. Think about this. The more we are independent thinkers, not autonomous, but independent thinkers, dependent on a king of the universe, right? The more unified we will become. How scary is that? They don't want that, right? Because then we're going to owe our allegiance to God alone. And then everything else comes secondary to that.
Yes. But see, and that's because they want to be God.
Yeah.
They want to be Abba, which means your source. The government wants to be your source. Yep. And you know what happens when government becomes our source.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm reading the Ancients right now, guys. And their version of democracy is exactly what we're seeing today. It was basically a soft form of socialism, like mob rule. You had to be, and there were good things that the founding fathers took out of it. They took out the idea of checks and balances in government. They took out the idea of more equalized representation across the board board because of those checks and balances, because of those different branches of government, right, being separate. They took some of that away from it. But I'm reading about these Greek leaders who are writing their constitutions, and they're diving into, here, we're not going to allow women to have a dowry because we want them to marry for love and affection so that we solidify the family in the government. Well, okay, that sounds great, right? Like we don't want wealth and prosperity and popularity to run our marriages. But the problem is, why is the government making that decision, you know? And so we do these, even on the right side, we're saying we're less government, less centralized government, more, less regulations. But then we
go around and ask for more legislation to protect that freedom, but it's not really. It's saying we're giving you that.
It's the veneer of freedom. It's the veneer of freedom. But like you said, Amber, it's the government still giving us the privilege to have those freedoms, and then it's not freedom. It is a privilege granted by government, fallible human government, and that is not a freedom. That is not a right. And so therefore, yeah.
I've got $1 million question for you guys. After understanding Karl Marx, do you see his plan on both sides of the aisle?
Oh yeah. Oh, Marx has made his way through. I mean, if you think about it, Marx has made his way through, and he wasn't the first one to think about this, guys. He was just the one with the rich friends who funded it, right? And got it out to the world. So Marx is so inundated in our public schools, and we have taught people to not think critically, that we're looking at it and going, oh, Marx was great. He knew the problems of human nature. He knew the problems of capitalism. He knew all this stuff. So therefore his solutions must be true, right? So even the Republicans who've been raised in the public education system, I mean, we do have some homeschoolers, but again, even homeschool curriculums are sometimes infused with these socialist ideas, because we know there's a problem, and that was something that Marx got right. The problem is he got the solution all wrong.
Right.
And so he nowadays we're having these systems, these educational and political systems, telling us this is the moral choice to go to this, let the government help you and be your daddy, right? This is the moral choice because we're compassionate, we're caring, we're not letting people fall through the cracks. Thank you, No Child Left Behind Act, right? Like, and it's doing the exact opposite, because the government cannot legislate morality if they have no virtue themselves.
So what you're saying then, when a party like the Republican Party don't let nobody get in the race, they're telling you, don't think, we're going to think for you.
Yeah. And both sides, both sides are guilty of doing this, telling us. We just had this conversation in Wisconsin with the state Republican convention. They have already picked, and I know we talked about this before, they have already picked who's running in the race before we even get to state convention, where we're supposed to endorse candidates, where the delegates are supposed to endorse candidates, right? We don't even have that choice anymore, because they have already picked for us and said, this is the one. If we want to win the seat, we have to put this person in office. Well, here's the thing. For independent thinkers, that's like waving a red flag and going, don't run after it. Because my first thought is, if you've already picked the candidate before I can even go and put my vote in for endorsement, I'm going the exact opposite direction. I don't care what. I don't care if he's the best candidate in the world and he's going to win the seat. I don't care.
Even though he's not.
because you are telling me that I do not have the reason and the rational thought to pick my own candidate. You are telling me that I am not smart enough. And I'm sorry, guys, that's an oligarchy. That's a few elites at the top going, we're gonna tell you, we're gonna hold your hand through this because we don't trust you to make the right decision.
Here's the worst part of that. The Patriots, the Republicans, Libertarians, pretty much everyone who's not Democrat is complaining about the Democrats doing that exact thing about all minorities. All
Yep.
minorities, they're trying to say, trying to make excuses for, not having voter ID or that kind of stuff, or this, that, and the other thing, because they're not smart enough, not whatever enough, don't have enough access to whatever to make their own decisions, to protect and defend their own rights. So we need Big Brother to do this for us, and yet they're doing the exact same thing.
I know.
And yet somehow under this guise of virtue and morality, because we're smarter than the other side, and so we can do this for you because we're smart. But it's the same thing. It's just different packaging or this pretend virtue.
Yeah. It's just marks packaged in a different supposedly more consumable packaging. Like it's just to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with it. But if you look at the rise of socialism and communism, if you see how it started out, it always starts out with this soft socialism, right? We're not gonna take away your personal property. We're just gonna take away the collective property, right? We're gonna make sure that the public has access to the national parks, for example, right? Like we want to preserve the beauty of of nature. Well, so now we have hundreds of thousands of acres of nationally owned land in America. And we have a few 100,000 or a few million more acres owned by corporations and stuff like that, because the government made this a thing. And so now this is where we get into, Dr. King, your concern with these power lines. These small cities and small towns that these power lines are going through don't even have a voice by the time it gets to the decision time. They don't even. Most people don't even know that there were actually online forums where they could go and put their input in, because
the worst part about those forums, it's just for show. To say, we're giving the people a voice, and yet we've already signed NDAs, we've already signed agreements, and we're just doing this to basically satisfy this requirement. But we've already made the decisions.
The decision was already made before those forums were even created.
Right. And my problem with that is this. You're talking about, it might bring in $30 million, $70 million, but how many lives, how many people is going to catch cancer? How many
I just looked it up. There's a study out of the British Columbia Medical Journal that an increased risk for 69% for leukemia was found for children living within 200 I'm guessing meters of power lines, with an increased risk of 23% was found for, and then it continues because I didn't actually click on the link, but like 69% for leukemia was
within
found.
650 feet. Anybody within 650 feet of that power line are at an increased
risk. Those power lines are going to go very close to our elementary school in the town of Maryland,
where we put our kids for 8 hours a day.
And then summer school too.
Right, but that's the problem I have, because we're not looking at the average family, the average day family, who's going to have to suffer for that. The land that's going to get destroyed because of that. We're not. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, even the food that's becoming toxic, because there are, let's see, there's the Maryland Cafe, there's the Depot, there's Corner Bar, there's Cisco's restaurant, there's the Mexican store here in town, all within, how close did you say, Sarah? How many feet?
656 feet.
Okay, so at least 2 of those places are supposedly on the actual line, and I can't picture what 600 whatever feet looks like, but that's just within the close proximity, that 200 meters. And then all the school food, like we're toxifying ourselves with the food too that's being located within that range as well, not just ourselves being physically located in that range.
Yeah,
it's insane. When there was a secondary proposed, at least through my area, there was a secondary path that they could have chosen, and they decided not to.
Yep.
Because it's not about the safety of people.
Yeah,
Nope.
here's something you're going to hate, Dr. King. I'm giving you another book to read. Hobbes' Leviathan.
Okay.
You want to hear Marx? This is Marx. This is Leviathan being the monster of government ruling over men. He was a classical political science, economics, all of these things. Marx did not get his ideas in a vacuum. Hobbes' Leviathan, several of these other philosophers and politicians, they spoke to these things.
These are the book Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes, 1651. Yes. Okay.
Yep. They saw these things, and they wrote the playbook on them.
And you know what? I'm sort of getting ahead of myself based on what we were talking about pre-show. This has to go back to education, and you guys, they, as in these leaders on both sides, they have gotten this liberal arts education. They have studied psychology. They have studied mass communication. They have studied the great philosophers and English majors. Like, there is a reason that they know this stuff, and that we have chosen to not, because, well, we don't want to go down that path. You must know your enemy.
But here's the thing about that, Amber. They've studied this, but they've studied it carefully curated. Right? The elite education is carefully curated, not to teach what to think, but to teach when to think.
Exactly.
You'll see that in medical school. You'll see that in poli-sci. You'll see that in all of these places where these career politicians, they're getting their information from. It is carefully curated to teach them when to think about these things, right? So not how to think. They're getting it curated enough that it's narrow enough that it's already told them what, but it's the when to think. And this is why they are in power, because they've gotten this education without the wisdom, the chukmah that comes from God. They've gotten it from man's worldview, and that's the humanistic, socialistic worldview. And so we can turn Marx into the savior of the world if we want to, right? We can turn Hobbes into the savior. We can turn all of these socialist, communist. We could turn Lenin into a savior if we wanted to, because guess what? He was just doing it for the good of his nation and his people, right? We can make Hitler look great, right? Because we're teaching people what to think, and we're teaching them when to think in these particular groups of people. And I hate to break it down by classes, but when you're given the freedom to learn first the foundational principles of God, and then move into thinking through these authors, these philosophers, these political science sort of people, then you're going to have the wisdom underneath it to apply it the way it should be applied.
And I was watching something, and the guy was giving a testimony. I forgot the guy's name, but he said, listen, everything shifted in 2010. He says that's when they took the books out and put the Chromebooks in. And he says you can watch the deterioration of our children education because they're not
amplified.
They're not thinking anymore. You cuss a kid out when you say read a book and do a book report, because they don't understand. What do you mean do a book report?
What's a book report? Yeah.
Tell me what you got out of it.
This is why I don't do book reports with my kids. We read a book and we discuss it. We dialogue with it. We engage with the material, and we go based on discernment. I ask pointed questions. This is why I love Socrates so much, because as arrogant a man as he was, he's like, I'm not the wisest man, but people tell me I am. But he asked questions of his students. And it's not the I'm just asking questions kind of a thing that we hear today. It's I'm going to ask you very pointed questions, not leading questions, but very pointed questions to see if you are engaging with the material in a way that you can respond well, right? And that's what I do with my kids. I ask them pointed questions, not leading questions, not to teach them what to think, but to teach them how to, or to how to think. And I engage them with some material that I don't even like engaging with, but material that in order to understand the minds of these elites who are running our governments, these leviathans, right? We need to be able to understand where they're getting their thinking from and why. And so this is the lost art that we have. And we can say it started in 2010, but it started so much before that, right? And
Right.
Here's the thing that gives me hope. We go throughout the entire history of the world, we go through like basically the 4 turnings or phases of like generations, right? Where we see it especially stark in the decline and fall of Rome, right? Where it started out as this brilliant, beautiful empire. And okay, we can talk about all of the godlessness, but beyond that, they started out with a strong sense of patriotism. They were Rome, right? And they built up this beautiful, prosperous nation. And then you see when prosperity, what is that? The strong men create, what is it? Strong men create good times create
that cycle.
weak men create bad times, and it goes right. This is not, there's nothing new under the sun. This is not the first time we've seen this decline. Now, the amazing thing is that we can pull out of it. We can return and restore America to its foundational principles and values based on God's laws. We can do that. And that's where I want to say, let's break that cycle. Let's not go to the force shift. Let's go to the freedom shift.
And so in doing that, to restore, then we cannot continue down the road that we're going then. We got to make a U-turn in order to restore. We got to be willing to challenge ourselves to say, let's stop and look. Am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? And if I'm just going along to get along, and if I'm just going along to keep peace, if I'm just going along because that's what they told us, then I'm part of that problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at it, then the question is, who do you think might be willing to step up and says, I know you're going to talk about me, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but this is how we can solve this problem?
Say that once more, because you broke up a little bit.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is this: we know that it's messed up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we know that if we're just going along to get along, we're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the question would be, who has the courage to say, you know what, we're headed to a cliff and we need to get off before this train goes to the end of the cliff. Now, jumping off is going to cost you something.
It's gonna hurt. Yeah.
But you'll survive enough to make a difference, right? Yeah. And I used the scripture on yesterday in service, Matthew 5:14. Matthew 5:14, God said, you are the light of the world.
Mm-hmm.
In other words,
the hill cannot be hidden.
Right. So you are the light. You are the influencer of the world, right? And then in verse 16, he said, now go let your light shine.
Mm-hmm. So
go tell the truth.
Works.
Yeah.
And go glorify your Father in heaven.
Yes.
There's the part where you forget about. You're the light.
You're the light.
And it's for the glory of God.
And you're supposed to shine, but you don't shine for a Democrat or Republican. You shine for God.
Yep.
By your actions and by what you do. And when we see all of this mess, and like the 2022 election, 890,000 voters says, I'm not voting. Mm-hmm. What would make 890,000 say, I'm not going to go vote?
Because they do not understand the gravity. We're so focused on the Washington, D.C. soap opera that they're not looking at the state level and seeing the power that we have.
And it's not that they're not even looking at it. They don't know.
They don't know
They don't
it.
know that the state level is really where the power is at. It really
Yes.
does not matter who's in that White House.
Yes.
I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, in our daily lives.
Yes.
But we're not taught that really the midterms, I mean, it sucks that they're even called midterms, because at the state level, it seems like that's really more the important one for our daily lives. And
yeah, that should be the the general election. That should be what it or whatever we want to call it to give it that impact. Yeah, just calling it the midterms, it lessens,
diminish the importance of
and
it.
That's exactly what for the last 100 years they've been busy doing. These elites, these people who are career politicians, they're busy doing this in order to make it impossible for the people to fight back.
So then let me ask this then, and I get that some of them probably out of ignorance, they don't understand the importance of the state, right? But do you also think that we didn't put anybody up that they can trust to make a difference?
I definitely do think that's possible. I do think the majority don't, because even my peers, I'm a millennial, like I'm a solid in the middle of the millennial generation. And
what that means?
Most of my peers do not understand or know about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so just speaking from the millennial perspective, like they don't know, plain and simple. We are not taught it.
Yeah.
So then add on like compounding factors, adding on to the fact that there's no good options. That's just amplifying the lack of knowledge.
Yes. And like you were saying before we got on, Amber, we were talking about the need for both the emotional and the logical, the rational and the emotion, right? Both the passion and the rationale. And what we've got is two complete extremes. We have purely pragmatic, right? And then we have purely emotion led. And I'm saying this is on both sides. But this is where we've got to the point where we no longer give a reason with gentleness and respect. We just either scream out our fury or our passion or our whatever, or we completely sit behind the logic of, well, statistically speaking, this is the person who's the most likely to win, and so therefore that's why we're going to get him in. It doesn't matter what they feel about the sanctity of life. It doesn't matter what they're going to do once they get into the seat. It's just, this is the one statistically likely to win.
And
okay.
And to kind of tie it in to what Dr. King was saying before the call too about, and what we're touching on now, the importance of having independent thinkers and independent candidates is, to put it plain and simple in marketing terms, facts tell, but stories sell. And this is what the left-leaning side, whether we look at it from academia or from politics, this is what the liberal arts side has mastered.
Yeah.
For better or worse, and sometimes a lot for worse. And what I see patriots and liberty lovers shying away from to create this separation of from snowflakes to patriots, like we have shied away from psychology and how the brain works so much that we only focus on yelling facts, that we don't connect with the human being on the receiving end of that. And that's where learning marketing skills is actually one of the best things we can do, not from a manipulative perspective that is so often being used in propaganda, but to understand how the human brain even works so that we can create connection and stop the division.
Yes.
Because when we can connect people from the facts to the why the facts matter, that is where we are going to start succeeding again.
But you got to understand, they're not allowed to connect.
Well, and not only that, but they're looking for quick results. Both sides are looking for quick results, right? Our nation was not founded overnight. America became what how do I want to put this? America was only ready to become America, the United States, right? After several hundred years of multiple people building a foundation of solid godly principles in their own individual colonies, in their own individual homes, building that, reviving that, restoring that mindset, building a monument that explains exactly why, a monument in Massachusetts that explains exactly why we became the United States of America, was because of the hundreds of years of foundational building that took place before we even got to, we hold these truths to be self-evident, right?
And you know,
why do you think they could say we hold these truths to be self-evident? Because it was self-evident for millennia.
Right. And the thing that I love about it,
Sorry, Amber, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, sorry. But the thing I love about it is this. They say, I'm going to join the United States, but I'm keeping my identity.
Yeah.
We're not going to, Wisconsin said, we're not going to be like Minnesota. We're not going to be like Virginia. We're going to be the Wisconsin. We're going to be Wisconsin. So I'm going to join you guys, but I'm going to still think individually.
Yeah.
And
we're still going to be Wisconsin first. Yeah.
Right. So this is the thing that I really believe that a lot of people doesn't pay attention to. I think a lot of people sit there and just say, oh, it's the United States. And no. We are an individual state.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have our own constitution. Every state has its own constitution. And anytime, even though I'm joining you, but the moment you try to cross over is the moment I tell you, I'm going to keep it nice.
Instead, we're accepting blood money from the federal government, stolen from the people, in order to continue our massive centralized government.
Well, and you know what's that? I don't know if ironic is really the right word here, Sarah, so you're going to have to catch me on this one. But the craziest part is some of the most local loony states out there right now are the original 13 colony states, New York and Massachusetts, Connecticut. Some of these coastal states that were the original 13 that were fighting for our independence and our rights.
Yeah.
They're some of the worst offenders when it comes to violating New Jersey too.
Yeah.
Our rights and liberties.
Yes. Virginia. We're talking. I don't know if you've seen Nick. What is it? Nick Freitas. He was in the Virginia House of Delegates for the state assembly, and he talks about this stuff all the time. He's like, oh wait, so you're in one of the original colonies that like strongly urged the Bill of Rights with the Second Amendment. You're now the state that's going, we're going to take away your guns. We're going to make laws. He says, and he highlights the whole Congress shall make no law, and you're making laws. And he's like,
and isn't Virginia the one that you've mentioned like last round when we were doing these calls that they actually had something in the books originally that if you didn't have your two-way,
Virginia was one of them. Yeah, Virginia was one of them where if you did not have your firearm as a man in walking about town, if you did not have your firearm and your ammunition, sorry, my brain is going fried right now. If you didn't have your firearm and your ammunition in public, including church, you would be fined for it. Now, how many of those fines actually came? I don't know. There was this was on the books, on the law books, that you had to keep and bear arms. Now, we could go, oh, government interference, forcing us to, whatever. No, but the point was these men were supposed to be able to defend and protect the rights of others. If they
weren't packing, they couldn't be fighting and defending those rights.
Yes, exactly. Irony is perfect, because the very, very original colonies who started this road to independence are now the ones who are fighting so hard. New York has a Muslim mayor.
And
who
wasn't it
believes in Sharia law,
right?
who is ideologically 100% opposed to the very constitution that he stated he was going to keep and defend.
I mean,
Actually,
look
did
at
he
what
even make that
happened
vote?
with his whole socialist idea, like publicly, marketing these socialist ideas. And then look at
Yes.
what happened when they had that massive snowstorm.
Oh
They
my
were
gosh.
trying to like ask for volunteer snow cleanup crews, and
Oh,
that
wait,
was
He's
if you're
begging
gonna
rich people to come back to New York so that they can fund his tax plan. It's like,
that they
no,
can be
no.
basically fined through taxation for
Yes.
existing.
Yes.
but wait,
No, thank
but
you.
wait, if you go shovel snow, you had to show an ID.
Yeah.
I remember,
They-
yeah.
Yeah.
You had to show an ID to shovel snow, but not to vote.
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
But, I mean, and
Because
that's just
shoveling
like,
snow doesn't get you into the seat in Congress. So
right. Ain't that the same like was that Pennsylvania where you had to be a believer to run for office?
oh, there was it 9 of 13 original colonies said you had to pass a religious test in order to sit in office, in elect office. So
And at the state level, that's allowed. The states can do that.
yeah.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I understand why the founding fathers did what they did with the federal constitution, because they did not want to muddy the waters with a particular religious pathway, right? And when I talk about religious, I'm talking about the Christian denominations, not
Denominations, right?
right, because
In the
they
Christian
were
realm.
sticker shock from the whole persecution stuff still. I mean, that was still in their pretty near recent memory, right? And so they were like, we don't want to go there. And the problem that I have is now we have just anybody who comes into the United States can sit in those seats and make decisions when they hold none of our values, when they do not understand the sanctity of life or the cause of freedom or the fact that God gives rights, not man, right? They're able to sit in those seats because we don't even have a civic test for them to take anymore. So we take away the religious test, we take away the civic test. What do we have left? We have a whole bunch of people who are sitting in these seats who do not answer to the people anymore, because we have so watered down our vote, our ability to stand for ourselves as we the people, that it is now moving into an oligarchy, which is ironically where so Republican constitutions or constitutional republics, if they are not tended, like Ben Franklin told us to, if you can keep it, right, they move into democracy, because that's the natural flow of things with human nature. They move into democracy, and then they move into oligarchy, and then they move into full-on tyranny. And this is the vicious cycle that we were trying as a new nation in America to avoid. And we're back at that pathway. We're back at that crossroads. Are we going to go the same route that every other republic has done, or are we going to step up and restore the values of the nation? What do you think of Socrates and how he opposed democracy? So Socrates, his view of things, him and Aristotle and several others were talking about the what's the word I'm looking for? Philosopher kings to run the nation, and in some it was better than what they had. Let's go with that. It was a step up from what they had. Benevolent, philosophical, people who were doing things for the good of the people, who had the best interests of the nation at heart. It was wrong. It's not the best way to manage, because obviously we take away the independent thinking of the people. But they had a completely different view of democracy, of republics than we do today, right? And that is through hundreds of years and many sweat and blood-filled nights of founding fathers going, okay, we can't go that route. We know where that leads, right? Democracy was mob rule, and Socrates did not agree with that, because he knew the danger of it. He understood the danger of it, And he went with, Philosopher Kings. Okay, that, little bit better, but
well, at least the logic there is, if I can at least communicate, and it's still flawed, but here's my understanding of it. If I can communicate in my thoughts and opinions on the quality of life that we should be enjoying, and if I can communicate that well enough that the audience that's observing me communicate this, is on board with it, then that makes me then essentially like morally right in the eyes of the people, because I was able to convince them of this theory of righteousness.
Yeah.
And so this is the right way to go then, if I can convince them that this makes sense.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where we get a lot of our concepts of propaganda today. Is it's about logical fallacies and our ability to convince.
Yes.
It's not right. It wasn't as afraid of just having one, biologically appointed.
or divinely appointed. There was a lot more talk in Socrates' day of honor and piety and service to the gods. And so from a pagan point of view, that was closer to what the original founders had. But we had a specific god in mind, right? They at least had that idea of an honor system, of a pious fidelity to family, fidelity to the gods, right? And so we don't have that in post-truth culture in America. As a whole, I'm saying as a whole, not specifics. And so we need to get back to that. So in that sense, I will say that Socrates was right. We do need to have piety to God first, and then country, right? And through, we do that by building solid, strong, godly families. We do that by building solid, strong, virtuous communities. And we do need to get back to that. And so I do agree with that. This is exactly. And this is going into a completely different field, because this is basically our government getting involved in our healthcare system, our government getting involved in the insurance system, right? That's exactly what they are doing, is letting others choose who you see. Oh my gosh, we in Jackson County, we just had this where our county is not healthy enough to avoid the high premium costs. And so we could not afford to continue with the insurance plans that we had for our county workers. And so we went to like a self-pay kind of thing, where it's like, it's more self-governed, kind of like what Jake and I do, where we are with a health sharing thing, where we use healthcare and insurance for catastrophic and actual health issues. And we don't just willy-nilly take our kids to the emergency room because they fell and they're bleeding. It's more self-governed. Oh my gosh, you cannot imagine the conversations we had with some of these people. Were like, what am I going to do with it? I can't, you guys, the insurance companies were picking my doctors and stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, pick your own. This is actually helping you save money by not going to the doctor on the insurance plan. It's going to the one that is going to cost less, because you're shopping around for the best deal. And that's exactly what this is, Jared, is when the government got involved in healthcare, when they get involved in education, when they get involved in all of these jurisdictions that they have no authority over, no God-given authority over. This is what we get. We get a whole bunch of people deciding for a few, or an elite bunch of people deciding for the masses exactly who you get to go to. This is
exactly why people are going to other countries for surgery and for medical care.
I just had a friend who went to India for dental work. Like, India, who goes to India for healthcare? But their doctor was better and was top of the line.
Right, but that's another reason I put it off earlier, talking that we got to stop letting political parties and government think for us. We got to start to do that ourselves, because I'm not going to let nobody choose who works on me. I'm gonna work on me.
I give zero Fs. I'm going to say it that way. I give 0 Fs if someone is board certified, because the board
That
gets
doesn't tell me
money.
anything.
The people on that board get money because the people who get on the board certified list had to pay for the education that the board members are providing. Like,
Jared,
it's
you
a
took that
circular
horse
thing.
face, didn't you?
Like, you have to use our education systems to get our certification, our
Yes.
stamp of approval.
Yes.
It's just, I don't.
Let's say
This just came down in my inbox today. Okay, so the CDC just put out new baseline norms for blood pressure. Okay, in 1971, it was at like 170/90 or something like that. That was the baseline.
right.
But then they're like, but we've got all of this blood pressure medication that we're now prescribing. So now, but we don't have enough people to buy it. So guess what?
We're going to lower the number.
Lower the numbers.
More people on the medication.
They just lowered them again.
Right.
A new low level, so that basically anybody over the age of 20 is going to be on blood pressure medication by the time they're done.
Well, see, this is why.
Because government got itself involved in subsidizing healthcare, and it is now no longer healthcare. It is, we're going to make money off of the sick that we are creating in our nation.
So
right, and this is why we have to open it up for holistic to come back. Mm-hmm. We have to open it up because you'll be like, oh, your blood pressure high. Okay, thank you for telling me that. I'm gonna go over here to the holistic and I'm gonna get what it takes to bring it back down. You know, and when you look at it, diabetes, they're doing the same thing for diabetes. They doing, all of a sudden your kidneys got a problem now, and they make. And if you're not a critical thinker, they'll make you think everything is.
When the pharmaceutical companies were allowed to put ads on the TV, we lost the healthcare system right then, because every pharmaceutical ad was told you have to put the side effects. It doesn't matter because nobody listens to that. They just go, oh, this is going to help my intimate life, or, oh, this is going to help lower my blood pressure. They don't listen to the fact that the very medicine you're going to be taking, it does the exact opposite and actually creates the problem that you are trying to fix. Right. When sunshine and exercise and healthy eating, organic, wonderful from the ground, from the family farm next door food on your table is what we actually need.
And
right, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing with that, Sarah. Is this? It says, take this pill, and then the side effect. You're gonna be.
Yeah, and it goes back to the concept of teaching us our own weaponized incompetence, that we somehow are not capable of changing our lifestyle. I think of that cartoon that has this long line for a pill for every ill, and then nobody, literally like cobwebs in the list for changing your, to a healthy lifestyle. And it's because we've been taught that we're too busy to change our lifestyle, literally too busy to survive. Yeah. Let alone thrive. So take a pill.
That's just like when we was coming up. When we was coming up, you had cartoons that says, like Popeye, if you get beat up or if you get tired and weak, what do? You open up a can of spinach and you eat spinach. Right? They was leading the children to want to eat vegetables.
Yeah.
Now they got kids want to drink Red Bulls.
Yep.
It gives you wings.
They behind me, y'all. They just
with their Red Bulls in hand. No, just kidding.
So I will go back really quick and say the article on the blood pressure. They basically stated that people in stage 1 hypertension, according to guidelines, are actually less at risk than they originally assumed, and so they're putting these people on medication that they shouldn't be. So they are reversing. But they did that with milk too, right? Like, oh, don't drink whole milk. Well, don't drink raw milk. Don't do all of these things. And now they're reversing course and going, oh, well, maybe. Was it Tennessee? just recently passed a bill allowing for the sale of raw milk again. And there's like 11 states that do that. Minnesota included, which was really weird to me. Minnesota is so weird. It does not make sense to me. What?
But I thought raw milk was terrible.
Right, but there's some states that are being like, we need to stop regulating this because it's not our job to do it, right? So we are seeing a reversal in some of these idiotic, stupid things, but the problem that we will not see the end of the problem until we get the states and the government, the federal government, out of these jurisdictions. They do not belong in regulating what comes off the farm. You know what regulates what comes off the farm?
Say, Sarah.
You know what regulates what comes off the farm? Free market and people who can think. That's what regulates.
You want to know what? It's the factory farms that are and factory producers that is the reason we have all these recalls for contamination.
Right. But Sarah,
you don't see these recalls for, a whole bunch of raw milk went bad and so we've got to recall. No, because guess what? People aren't telling you they're buying raw milk.
And typically you can't even prove, these cases aren't even proving that someone actually got sick from this person's raw milk.
Exactly.
But
they do these recalls. They kill off whole herds because of, whatever vaccine.
Avian bird flu.
Avian bird flu got into the cows. Like,
and we buy it, but
this is why critical thinking is so important, guys. This is why critical thinking is so important. We lived for thousands of years without the government telling us what we could eat. We lived for that with humans.
And here's the best part.
We survive a whole lot. The first person who ate poisonous mushrooms died. The second person went, okay, I'm not going to do that. Right? Like,
makes common sense.
But Sarah,
Yes.
I counted, Sarah. I counted. And you used that word critical thinking almost 100 times now.
Yes.
In this hour.
Good.
But you know what? That's the thing that we have to look at and we have to realize. And sometimes we just need somebody to just you ever been in see a movie where they was panicking? I was just watching Will Smith and he was just panicking in the movie, and Lawrence Martin just started slapping him. Come back to yourself, right? I think that's what we need to do. We need to line up everybody in the state and just slap them one time and be like, hey, come back. Start thinking again. This stuff don't even make sense.
Stop being a Stuart Little.
Yes.
Right. Because it really doesn't make sense.
What if we finally went back to news not being 24/7?
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely?
Why don't we go back to being news telling the truth?
Actually, what if we go back to just news, like actual news, and not a whole bunch of,
6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 hour each, boom, done.
Yep, exactly. And then we get people off screens and out in nature, like just putting their faces up to the sun. And I mean that both literally and figuratively, right? And they're going and their brains are growing and developing and building new neurological pathways. And we are once again becoming a nation of independence.
J-Rod, you are hired, J-Rod. You are hired. You are hired. But before, because we done passed the hour, but before we do, I got to...
Guys, you want to know what critical thinking or critical means?
Yeah, you can look that up while I make this announcement.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I have 2 announcements. On tomorrow, today what? Thursday. Tomorrow. Tomorrow we are having Conversation with King here in the city of Milwaukee, 6091 North Tetonia at 6 p.m. Bring your concerns. Let's have a conversation. This is not a debate. It is a conversation. But hopefully by the end of the conversation, you'll be a critical thinker again. But we want you to come out and share your concerns and everything. But on Saturday, it is Meet the Candidates. We're going to be in Coonville, Wisconsin. Coonville, Wisconsin. I know y'all looking like, where's that at? Coonville, Wisconsin. J. Rob, put the time up on there. I got the address. I don't have the time. So the address to it, let me go back to it, is 500 Old Mill Road, Coonville. I'm sorry, not Coonville, Coon Valley. Forgive me.
I was gonna say
Coon Valley. No, it's Valley.
I've never heard of Coonville.
Coon Valley. I don't know why I said Coonville, but Coon Valley. Coon Valley, Wisconsin 53623. That's 500 Old Mill Road, Coon Valley, Wisconsin 53623. And you can come out and meet candidates. All kind of candidates is going to be there. Congressman Van Horton. Van Horton is a congressman, right?
Yeah, Congressman Van Orden.
Van Horton will be there. A couple of candidates for Secretary of State will be there. I believe the candidate for Supreme Court judge is going to be there.
Maria Lazar.
Yes, I believe. I think a lieutenant governor candidate is going to be there. I'm not sure about that one. I got to look at the flyer again. But you get to hear both candidates for governor, Tom Tiffany and Dr. David D. King. We all are going to be there.
Now, if only you could get the Democratic candidate for governor, you'd have a trifecta there.
Oh, I would be like, I'll be like I'm at Old Golden Corral or a smorgasbord or something. I would love that. But this is to meet us. This is not a debate. This is just to meet the candidates. And
about critical thinking. So the word critical is derived from Middle English and Latin, also from Greek as well. But the sense of it, or the definition of it, it's hard to say definition because there's like concepts, right? But it says being at a turning point or decisive. So being at a turning point or decisive, that's where we get the word critical. That fits us so well right now in this day and age. Is we are at a turning point and we need to make a decision about which way we're going to turn. Ooh. I just said the Democrat. Yes, because it makes him look silly. If you get the Democratic governor and you get the Republican governor candidate and you get the independent candidate together, who's going to look worse? It's not going to be the independent candidate.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
So anyway, so yes, critical thinking. Critical. It means at a turning point or within a turning point, being at a turning point, and it means decisive. And so this is what critical thinking is all about. Decisive turning point thinking, right? We are considering what's going on, we are considering what's happening, and we are looking at it through the lens of the Word of God, and we are saying this is what fits in His universe, and this is what does not fit in His universe.
Well said. So, Sarah, are you ready? Because you know it is that time of the season. No, she's not ready because she got her mic off.
You said Sarah. No, I was just singing that.
Oh, I didn't mean to say Sarah. I meant to say Amber.
That's why Amber. I stayed muted, because you were talking to Sarah.
I'm sorry. I meant to say Amber, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. You're up.
So, not quite related to the topic of the day, but today is International Client Appreciation Day, and I was a collaborative author in an article. So I'm going to read you one of my answers to the question, how do you stay connected with to what your customers actually need rather than what you assume they need? And I think that part does tie into the conversation of who is our audience, and are we tying into what they need, not what we think they need? Here is my answer. One of the first questions I ask in a consult is for my member, my client, to describe in their own words their faith structure and beliefs. I then ask how what they're currently doing and what they hope to build align with that faith. I let them qualify themselves rather than assuming I know their priorities. I reflect back what I hear to them to make sure that they have authentic alignment and conviction. Sometimes it calls for deeper digging, and other times being truly seen and heard provides the confirmation they needed to move forward confidently. And I think that part is very relevant to today, is making sure that we are connecting with people's actual needs, with their rights and liberties, to make sure that what we are striving to do in the world is in alignment with the actual rights and liberties of people and how it affects their needs or doesn't affect their needs.
All
All
right.
right. So I'm going to quote my favorite founding father, Thomas Jefferson. And he says, I consider the foundation of the Constitution as laid on this ground, that all powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states or to the people. To take a single step beyond the boundaries thus specially drawn around the powers of Congress is to take possession of a boundless field of power, not longer susceptible of any definition. And that's exactly what we have become as a nation, is we've opened up the boundaries of power wide for a central government where they can define it as anything that they want to define it as. And we, the people, in order to combat that, we need to be critical thinkers. We need to go back to the origins of critical and remember what it means. We are at a turning point. We are at a decisive point in our nation where we need to make that decision to step up, to go to the polls, to learn our candidate well, and to, with integrity and with truth at our backs and before and behind us, we need to make our decision. And we cannot do that if we continue to go along with the status quo and just let the two-party system take over our nation as it is doing and continuing to do, unless we actually step up and say, no, enough. So that's my word of the day.
Well, mine is going to be very, very, very simple today. And then I'm going to address what J-Rod asked. But mine is very simple today. And I'm going to stick with the 100 word that Sarah used today, critical thinking. And I just want people to stop for a moment, move your emotions out of the way, move your anger, your fear out of the way. Look at your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and just ask a question. What have my party done for us that makes me so loyal to them? That's what I want us to do. That's the biggest critical thinking you can do today. Just look and ask that question. And if the answer if you doesn't have an answer, then it's time to go in a different direction. Then it's time to go and say, you know what? I'm sick of this. I need somebody that's going to go and really fight for the people. I don't need anyone that is brought anymore. I don't need anyone that is being pushed and led by somebody else. I need somebody that's really going to fight, because as I look at my children and my grandchildren, as I look at what they're doing with the power lines, it's going to cause cancer. As I look at how they're destroying the farmland, as I look as in the inner cities, you got the food deserts. Do we have anybody that's really going to fight for us? So my thing is, do some critical thinking. Think about everything and then move in a different direction. So now I'm going to put up J. Ross' question. There y'all go. You mothers, answer that question. Who? Oh.
Is this pertaining to those Oh, Sarah, you're muted.
It's the Safe Haven Act that he just signed into law. I'll give the broad answer. Pro-life groups loved this. Before it was 72 hours to give up your child. And now they moved it to 30 days. So you can make that decision within the first 30 days. From a hormonal perspective, for a pregnant woman who just gave birth to their child, making that decision, there's the postpartum period can go up to 5 years, where there's not a whole lot of critical thinking that takes place, in that you are just living on instinct. And so if your instincts and your emotions tell you, I can't do this, right? You have up to 30 days to give up your baby.
For me,
that has a good thing for unwed mothers who don't have many options, who are living in poverty and want to give their baby a better life. I would rather see a law that makes adoption easier, so that they can, if they're in a situation like that, they can give up their baby to a loving heterosexual couple to take care of a child, right?
I'm so glad you said that.
So yes, on one hand, in my opinion, it's a good thing, because it gives a mother in that type of a situation more time to decide, rather than to just dump the child in the dumpster because, the 72 hours have passed.
Exactly.
Right?
But you know what?
To think through that decision.
Let me jump in on this one real quick, from a daddy's point of view, or a man point of view, a father, a man of God. I want real churches, and I got to say it like this, to set up orphanages. So if she gave it up in 30 days, she got time to go back and rethink, and then she could come back and get her child if she want that child. Because like you say, in that first time, then
yeah. And the church show up with more resources.
The worst mistake of my life, right?
Yeah. So this is a spiritual thing, and I think we got to remember that this is a spiritual sickness in our nation, is that we have made it so easy for unwed pregnancies. We've made it so easy for promiscuity, and we've made it so easy for people to just live off government at the very lowest level, or at the very highest level of the poverty line, right? And no further. So they don't have that ability to rise above that, or they do have the ability, but it's a scary transition into that. And so in one sense, because of where we're at, this is a good law. And I will agree with the pro-life community.
Especially compared to the alternatives. And exactly. If this helps prevent abortions,
yes,
because at least I have more time to make a decision, and have this option.
Yes.
But I would say it's still a better option.
Right. But on the other side, I want the churches to be taking back this jurisdiction that they have given up to the government. And I want them to step up and go, we have a space for your child, and we will take care of that child. We will take care of you so you can take care of your child, right? We will
and not have the government intervention overseeing that.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's why that's one of the reasons why I said real churches.
Yes.
Not churches funded by the government. I said real churches.
Yes.
Because real churches not only going to take care of that baby, but they're going to make sure that that mother and that father is spiritually or mentally ready to receive that child back, and give God praise that they did not make the worst mistake of their life.
Yes. So as a stopgap preventative measure, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
As a long-term solution to a spiritual problem, it's not going to actually fix it.
Right.
So that would be my diplomatic, more
reasonable,
nuanced answer. How's that?
That's my God-fearing answer. How's that?
Yeah.
Because don't, and I know we got to go, but Those things are what we have to understand.
Mhm.
The people of God, we have the solution to the world's problem.
Mhm.
We
And we
just
have
got to
to
be.
tell that story well.
And that's where like questions like this, and I'm glad Jared asked it here the way he did, because it's not just a period, point blank, all good or bad.
Right.
If we had to reduce it to its bare minimum, yes, good, but it's a yes and.
Yeah.
And that's where any of these questions should be an opening to further discussion, not just like in the press conferences where they're looking for just a yes or no quick answer. Like, we need to be asking questions and ready for the answers for yes and or no but.
Exactly.
You know, and this is why we need this. This is why, and I'm gonna say it, and I gotta say it this way, but this is why we have to have independent candidates that will do it the way it's supposed to be done for families, for individuals, for moms, to move government out of the way. Because one side wants to grow government, the other side say they want to shrink it, but they never shrink it.
Mhm.
They never go to limited government. They always holler.
They compromise.
Huh?
They compromise. So they're like, well, we can't get our ideals, so we're going to compromise. But they compromise on all the wrong things.
Right.
So
And so we. This is why we need this, because if we let government get a hold of those babies, you're going to see human trafficking. I do not want to see that. I want real churches intercepting, helping that family, keeping that baby safe, and until that mother is mentally ready to be that mother.
Well, and here's the thing: the second those children become wards of the state, that activates the doctrine of parens patriae, which basically means the state is that child's parent, which then means all of the recommended pokes and all of that's going to be happening. All the public schooling, all the developmental related medications are going to be shoved down their throat, institutionalized, and these kids are going to be messed up.
Right. And just like Austin says, how much resentment has the family courts created? A lot. And this is why we have to put government back in its rightful place to say, hey, don't bag up.
Yeah.
You know,
we don't need the guardian ad litem's. We need the parents in a healthy, growing, supportive community,
right?
A godly community who can help them to learn how to raise their children in a.
And you know, I always tell people this: if I give you a rope, the problem you have is you're too busy trying to be a cowboy. Bag up. You know, you don't need to overstep your boundaries. You don't need to overstep. We need a government that is going to be there for the people and the people only. And so, yes. And okay, what did he say?
And then what are the long-term effects? That's an entire show all on its own, and I've got tons of information on that. So why don't we make that for our next one?
Yeah, we're gonna address that on next Thursday. We got to address it, and we need to make sure that we get on that. So with that, everybody, we love y'all. We thank y'all, and we're about to say good day and see y'all Thursday.
See you later.
Because the Bible said, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice.
People rejoice.
People